tight-lipped, saying that this has nothing to do with the political situation in Yemen. However, there is security has been beefed up outside the prison, which is one of the largest incarceration facilities in Yemen. This comes against the backdrop of increased tension here in the capital and also across the country. The opposition is putting more pressure on President Ali Abdullah Saleh to stand down this year. President Saleh still maintains his position that he is willing to resign in 2013 when his term comes to an end, and that before that deadline he won't respond to the demands of the opposition, and that the only thing he can offer is a national dialogue to try to work out a roadmap for a peaceful and stable future of Yemen, something which has been rejected by the opposition.
Well, in Bahrain, Shia Muslims have been pushing for more rights in continuing protests directed at the Sunni royal family. In the latest demonstrations, around 200 Shia protesters rallied outside the U.S. embassy, calling for Washington to stop backing the monarchy. Protesters have also been camping out at Manama's Pearl roundabout since last month, but their stand has won only minor concessions. Zainab Al-Khawaja is one protest organizer in Manama. She says the protesters want the U.S. to stop supporting Bahrain's government.
We want America not to get involved. We can overthrow this regime. We can. The people of Bahrain is strong, just like the people of Egypt. All we want is for America not to support the dictatorship in Bahrain, because people here, they're going to have to sacrifice so much more if the Americans decide to support the regime.
Sultan Qaboos of Oman has ordered a major cabinet reshuffle after weeks of anti-government protests in that Gulf state. State TV is reporting the Sultan named several new ministers, including the person who oversees the economy. The move appears to be the latest in a string of concessions aimed at appeasing the protesters, who've been demanding more jobs and political reform. And in Kuwait, too, youth groups have been calling for protests on Tuesday. As in previous demonstrations, they want the Prime Minister to step down and they want greater freedoms nationwide. The Al Sabah family has ruled the small Gulf state for more than 250 years. Political parties are not allowed there, and neither is this planned demonstration. It hasn't been given permission by the government. Now, South Sudan has been hit by a spate of killings. More than 50 people are reported dead in just 2 days. Southern soldiers are fighting two separate rebel groups in Jonglei and Upper Nile State. All sides have suffered casualties, but it's unclear how many civilians have been killed in the crossfire. Such violence continues to plague the south, which officially becomes a new independent state in July. Only 4 days ago, 33 people were killed in the disputed Abyei region. Now, pro-government forces in Somalia have taken control of one strategic town in the west of the country. An official says rebel al-Shabaab fighters have abandoned the town of Luk on Monday morning without putting up a fight. It being presented as a victory for the new transitional government, which has now been in place for just 100 days. The United States has promised more than $12 million in aid for refugees who are fleeing the growing violence in Côte d'Ivoire. Opposition fighters there have reportedly seized the town of Touleblu, previously held by troops who back Laurent Gbagbo. Fighting between supporters of Gbagbo and those of his rival, Alassane Ouattara, is now the worst since the 2002 civil war. Mohamed Ado has more from the main city, Abidjan.
Ruling the streets of Abidjan, young men take matters into their own hands. Hundreds of them pouring into the streets, setting up roadblocks and searching drivers. They say they're here to help the police and army ensure that Laurent Gbagbo remains the president of their country. Their loyalty to the man is unshakable.
We shall die to protect Gbagbo, and we are doing this to defend the constitution of Côte d'Ivoire. Ouattara is going against the very constitution he voted for.
They take nothing to chance. Nothing misses their attention, and they don't mind who they upset.
I don't appreciate their attitude. I urge them to be polite as they go about what they're doing.
These young men say that their work on the streets has largely been successful and that they managed to nab a number of firearms destined for the rebels in the north. They are also under stern instructions to ensure that the movement of UN personnel here in the capital is curtailed.
The UN forces have shown they are not impartial. They are biased. They are responsible for what is happening in Côte d'Ivoire. They have been arming and transporting rebels.
Conditions continue to worsen for civilians as the violence spirals. At least 200,000 people have been displaced, particularly from Abidjan, according to the United Nations. More than 360 people have also died since November. It's a toll that's bound to rise even higher if the current political crisis continues. Mohamed Ado, AlJazeera, Abidjan.
Well, still to come on this program. Oil prices reach fresh two-year highs, fueled by the tensions in the Middle East and the fear factor. Plus, as Mexico continues its battle against drug-related violence, many are seeking comfort in spirituality.
The relocation of the Ahmadiyya has magnified the issue of religious intolerance in Indonesia. Is this inevitable in a multicultural society? And is the government turning a blind eye?
101 East at this time on Al Jazeera.
From the ancient traditions of the written word to the power of photography and expressions of identity through dance, art is a constant feature of the human landscape. An underground theater group fights for democracy. Blind musicians make their mark in Bangladesh. Palestinian teenagers develop a photography project with kids from the other side of the wall. Across the world, art transcends physical barriers. Artscape, at this time on Al Jazeera.
If you're a Nokia user, you can download Al Jazeera's news widget from Nokia's Ovis store. The news widget, available on compatible Nokia devices, gives users quick and easy access to real-time news updates from Al Jazeera English. See the world in real time. Al Jazeera Mobile.
Hello again, a quick recap of our top stories. Anti-Gaddafi forces are calling for international help in their fight against the government. In the west of the country, close to the capital, Tripoli, they've lost control of AlJazeera, and we've heard they've lost advantage in some other cities. The US President Barack Obama has given the order for the resumption of military trials at the prison at Guantanamo Bay. And in Colombia, at least 23 employees working for Canada's Talisman Energy have been kidnapped in the eastern department of Vichada. Colombian troops have reportedly been sent to try to rescue the subcontractors, all of whom are Colombian. Now, more on the battle for Libya. Al Jazeera has received some pictures which apparently show some Libyan army officers who were killed for refusing to fire on the rebels. With more on that and other developments, here's Charles Stratford.
Evidence of how Muammar Gaddafi deals with traitors. It's claimed these are Libyan soldiers who were murdered for refusing to shoot rebels in the mountainous region west of Tripoli. The pictures were sent to Al Jazeera